Hello, my friends! This is our science for week 3. It's gonna be about the first lesson in this chapter, which is cells. So before getting to know more about cells, let's remember what are living things. People, animals, and plants are living things. So how do living things stay alive? They have tiny things inside their bodies that are called cells. So what is a cell? A cell is the smallest unit of living matter. So here in the picture we see plenty of cells. Let's recall, what do living things need? They need water, food, place to live, and most of them need oxygen. So how can we tell if a thing is a living thing? First, we have to learn a new thing about living things. Scientists agreed that we can replace the word living things with organisms. So we can use organisms, and we mean by that living things. So organisms, which are living things, should carry out 5 life functions. So in order to tell that a thing is living, it should carry out 5 life functions. What are they? Use food for energy, grow and develop, reproduce more of their kind, respond or react to changes in the environment, and get rid of wastes. Now we're going to learn the difference and the similarity between plant cell and an animal cell. So here we have this chart. First, we're gonna talk what's in between, or what's common between plant and animal cell. How are they alike? So they are alike. They have smaller parts to keep the cells alive. So cells have smaller parts inside them, even smaller than their size. Can you imagine that? So how are plant cell and animal cells alike? They both have smaller parts to keep the cells alive. And now, how are they different? Let's check the first difference. A plant cell has a cell wall, whereas an animal cell doesn't have a cell wall, but only a membrane. Okay, so a plant cell has a cell wall and cell membrane, but the animal cell doesn't have a cell wall, it only has a membrane. The other difference that we're gonna talk about, which is the most important thing in our lesson, plant cell has chloroplasts filled with chlorophyll to make their own food. Remember that plants do not go out and hunt for food. They make their own food. How do they make their own food? They have special things inside their cells, special part which is the chloroplast. They are like bags. They are filled with chlorophyll, and the chlorophyll allows the plant to make its own food. Whereas an animal cell doesn't have chloroplasts. We all know that animals hunt for food. They don't need to make their own food. This picture here tells us more about the common and difference in between plant and animal cells. So first, let's discuss the shape. Here you can see the plant cell has a shape of kinda rectangular shape, whereas an animal cell has it rounded, kinda rounded. Okay, and the other difference now, here you can check the cell wall that is outside, and then we'll have a cell membrane inside the cell wall, a little bit away from from the cell wall. Whereas an animal cell doesn't have a cell wall on the outside, it only has a membrane. So another difference is that here you can see these bags, here 1, 2, and 3. These are the chloroplasts. And what are they filled with? They are filled with chlorophyll, these tiny jelly in dark green. They are chlorophyll. These allow the plants to make its own food, whereas an animal cell doesn't have chloroplasts. Now let's talk more about the cells. What do cells do in our body? Cells are grouped by the jobs they do. So they have jobs to do in our body. Cells that do the same job together make up a tissue. So a group of cells that makes the same job make up a tissue. What are tissues? Tissues also can group together and make a job. Thus, they can form an organ. So, a group of cells make up a tissue. A group of tissues make up an organ. Let's take an example. Our heart pumps blood throughout our body. Our heart is one of the organs in our body. It has tissues, and the tissues have cells. Finally, organs make up organ systems. Let's take an example about one of our organ systems that we have in our body, which is the digestive system. So, as we said, many cells or a group of cells that are gathered together and do the same job together make up a tissue. Also, a group of tissues make up an organ, which here, for example, it's the stomach because it's one of the organs that we have in our digestive system. Also, a group of organs in one system make up an organ system. Thus, many organ systems make up a human being body or an organism. It's not necessary to be a human body. It could be an animal because also animals have many organ systems, so it makes up an organism. Now, can we see cells only by using our eyes? Never. We must use something called microscope. So what does a microscope do? It helps us see a small thing much bigger. Thank you.